Hi, I'm Abby McHugh-Griffa, Executive Director of the Climate Solutions Accelerator. And of course I have to start this video out by thanking everyone who contributed to our summit in some way. Of course, we had all our wonderful presenters and panelists and discussion facilitators who contributed their time and expertise. Our sponsors who made the event financially possible, and it is a very expensive event to put on. Our program advisory committee who shaped the whole thing, as well as our staff who managed all the logistics and put together all the details. And then, of course, everyone who showed up, who chose to spend their Friday and or Saturday with us digging into this question of how can we create a healthier, more equitable and regenerative future for our region. So again, thank you to everyone who participated and contributed in some way. So I thought I'd share a few takeaways, my big takeaways from the summit. One, I'm just so glad to see how relationships were made and how those connections, I believe, will bear fruit over time. I had a number of people who either, I talked to after the event or who sent me emails saying, oh, I met this person and now we're going to follow up and we're thinking about doing this together. And it's just so exciting to see that work out because that's kind of exactly the point. I also really appreciated the opportunity to dig into big, important questions together that may not have, simple, straightforward answers. Because we kind of saw the process playing out in real life of how, we explore these questions and hear from different people, and that builds the knowledge and understanding where it can lead us toward, making informed choices and decisions, prioritizing certain solutions over others, for example. So that process of building knowledge and relationships, again, was kind of playing out in that way. Oh, gosh. Oh, and of course, that work started to help us dig into what are some of the underlying root causes of the climate crisis and what are opportunities for, multi-solving. So yes, the summit was about climate change, but it definitely wasn't only about climate change. And so with that exploration of nuance and complexity and that focus on, kind of thinking systemically, we were able to have some really rich conversations about, the trade-offs, the pros and cons of different approaches, and just hearing from each other and practicing the communication skills to be able to understand and learn from each other. Was exciting to see. Of course, Kit's keynote definitely bubbles up as a priority or a highlight for me. She talked to us about reclaiming our attention from the attention economy that would like to have us just, scrolling all day long and kind of mired in the doom loop of fear and hate and anger, right? And so how do we intentionally reclaim our attention so that we can free up our energy for more life-affirming pursuits, right? So she talked to us about that. She also talked to us about the need to acknowledge and process our grief. And certainly based on kind of the participation in the grief-related breakout sessions later in the day, it seemed like that message resonated with some folks and certainly with me as well. Let's see. Oh, Kit introduced a new word that I think I will use for the rest of my life, and that is mind weeding. So, kind of what are these ideas that we hold in our brains, not because there's anything wrong with us, but just because, we grew up in this day and age, but those ideas that aren't serving us well and that we need to carefully weed out and discard, compost, as it were, to make space for, again, kind of more regenerative, life-affirming ideas and thought processes. So mind weeding is something I'm interested in doing a lot more of. And actually, I should mention that the Regenerative Futures Lab that we will be launching in June, initially we thought we were going to do it in May, but we're going to take the time. First, one thing, to recover from the summit, but also just to really do some careful planning around this. So plan is to launch in June. And the Regenerative Futures Lab, the whole idea is to continue this work of co-creating a better future and developing the skills and relationships and knowledge that we'll need to do that well. And mind weeding, kind of shifting our problematic mental models will definitely be a primary focus of that. So I invite you to please stay tuned for more information. And if you enjoyed the summit, or if you're like kicking yourself because you weren't at the summit and you wish you had been, the Regenerative Futures Lab would be a great next opportunity to plug in. Oh, and I loved having Natalie and her dancers from Garth Fagan kind of help ground us in our bodies and ask the question of, like, what can we learn from our bodies? Why is it important to prioritize our bodies and our physical health as we move forward with this process of co-creating a better future? So that was a nice way to kind of experience some of this work in a different way, and also just stand up and move. So thank you to Natalie and her dancers for that. And then again, there were so many other topics that were explored. It was wonderful to see how people wanted to dig into some like really wonky things like zoning and land use. Wow, I didn't expect that to be such a well-attended breakout session, but it was. And that indicates that people are really thinking about, kind of the systems level solutions that we need to be learning more about. And yeah, I think that's about all I need to say. But again, thank you to everyone who contributed to making it happen in some way. We look forward to seeing you at next year's summit. Planning has already started for that. It's going to be the weekend of, I think it's like April 25th or 26th, something like that. So a little later in the month of April. But planning is already underway, and hope you will save the date and be there with us next year. Take care.